Hello, my name is Benjamin Tutt, graduating class of 2022. Over the summer, I was able to intern at Anchor Fabrications. It's up in Denton. My grandpa was a longtime co-worker with the head of quality there, Ulysses Menences. Now the pandemic has hit the firm pretty hard. The turnovers were getting extremely high, and many positions belonging to a rotating staff of temporary employees. Quality, as it is frequently made to do, was sacrificed for the sake of maintaining production, creating a record slew of write-ups and fines by our customers. Today I will take you through my role at Anchor, the skills I developed there, the lessons I learned, and my main takeaways from this practical experience. Here is my journey in reversing a tide of poor quality. The location I worked for was known as Quality Industries, and if you ask Google, say on the day of your job interview, it still is. Quality Industries was a Tennessee-based metal manufacturer with a smaller location near one of its major customers, Peterbilt Automotives, an advanced trucking manufacturer. Quality Industries was bought in 2019 by Fort Worth-based manufacturer Anchor Fabrications. My studies were performed in a small factory near Peterbilt, and while the name may have changed, the business never did. The trucks made usually required an area for the trucker to sleep overnight, as well as provide a small number of amenities such as TVs, windows, and fridges. It was our job to assemble the aluminum frames that made those add-ons a reality. As intern, I was responsible for assisting the quality control team with their inspections, sometimes with outgoing products and sometimes with incoming materials. I also pursued solutions for continuous improvements on their smaller projects as they were busy with bigger fish to fry. Projects included updating, organizing, and recalibrating various tool instructions and references throughout the facility. This was to ensure quality standards were met. I also updated workspaces according to blueprints to improve workflow. My most in-depth project involved the digitalization of the quality archives that were all on paper. This would facilitate data analysis. One of the most important skills I utilized was something I learned in business communications class at UD, that being the distinguishment of high context environments and low context environments. The factory itself contained both veterans and newbies, and it seemed to be the most difficult problem facing Anchor was the fact that uh, most of the workplace knowledge was known by experienced staff, but was rarely communicated to the new staff. This proved to be a problem when the factory's turnover rate grew under COVID. Much of the tribal knowledge vanished, while the remaining formal training was outdated or insufficient. One of the primary objectives towards improving quality in the factory was to transform it from a high context environment where proper methodology is assumed to be known into a low context environment where knowledge and proper practice are assumed unknown and are thus easily accessible. Much of my work involved the designing, printing, and distribution of visual aids throughout the premises, whether it be directories for tool storage, directions on job function, or as simple as how to fix a paper jam. We worked hard to create an environment where new employees have strong pool of resources to start off successful. The skill I developed while working as an intern is an affinity for Microsoft Power Apps, as well as related apps such as Microsoft Power Automate and Microsoft Excel. One of the most ambitious plans to recoup the firm's quality was a project to digitalize the quality archives. This will allow easy access to the day-to-day logs of the quality inspectors and make trend finding and problem recognition much easier. A prototype was made through the help of our mother location in Tennessee for one of our 3 products, but no one on staff had an adequate grasp of the Power App system to refine it into a workable solution for the other 2. It took much time, but with the help of my literature grammar lessons and my scientific experimental skills picked up through the UD core, I was able to develop a more sophisticated set of skills and power-ups, even improving upon the original prototype design. My app would function off the iPads given to each quality inspector, a QR code being scanned for every piece in the kit that we send out. Usually a combination of a rear wall, a left-hand wall, and a right-hand wall. The code is translated and auto-fills out a form with the piece's ID. The inspector can then pass or fail it, giving a reason for any failed inspection. This allows for the tracking of repeat fail reasons and faster accountability if a faulty product is passed. As a final achievement, I was able to design a completely new app from scratch for our superiors up in Tennessee. One that can be used to log their regular machine inspections. A big ethical issue we faced was one of unrealistic expectations. Peterbilt, our customer, keeps track of parts per million defective rate in order to keep their suppliers in line. The bottom performing companies must engage in restructuring with a great deal of planning, controls, and paperwork being required to maintain the status of supplier. Our biggest dilemma was that our product was technically the full kit of several different components, not the components themselves. That means that all it took was a single mistake to drag our score into the dirt. The sheer amount of paperwork involved in keeping up with the citations also kept our management away from actually solving the problems that affected our quality of the product. It was always questionable why we were held to the same standards as firms who produce high quantities of bulk goods, and how the punishment for not living up to those standards involved hindering our efforts. In the end, we attempted to even the playing field by selling off batches of our own bulk goods to raise our score. Admittedly a tad dishonest, but not unreasonable when considering the deck stacked against us, and the heavy consequences involved in failure. In the end, though, we could not escape a bottom rating, and our unreasonable high expectations were passed along to our overworked and stressed thin quality control team, which might have damaging effects down the line. The operation at Anchor was a lot smaller than I was expecting, but that made me really appreciate the whole of the facility, how each department worked with one another. No department could stand alone. My time fulfilling the practicum really highlighted to me also the power of experience. Muhammad was a beloved employee for nearly a decade, and he could crank out an entire quota's worth of assemblies all on his own. Yet on the other side of the factory, an entire team was struggling to make half as much. My takeaway is not that Muhammad was exceptional, though he was very skilled, but that experience made all the difference. Employees can really thrive if you give them the proper resources, and that a perpetually inexperienced workforce, like the one they had at Anchor, can have a much higher cost than at first blush. While I will continue to improve my skills in data analysis, my time at Anchor also made me realize that I should continue developing skills, more soft skills, such as rapport building, knowledge sharing, and the give and take relationship necessary in managing individuals. This has been a summary of my time at Anchor, the skills I exercised there, the dilemmas we faced, and my ultimate takeaways. As a business professional, my experience at Anchor has been indispensable, and I hope to carry the lessons I learned there for the rest of my career, if not my whole life. Thank you for listening. Feel free to comment your response in the discussion questions below. This has been Benjamin Tutt, signing off.